I'm the Conservative candidate for Markham-Unionville.
Recently, the Conservative government have the throne speech. So you have any comment about this throne speech?
Yeah, the throne speech is meant not to be a specific document that outlines specific details of certain pieces of legislation, but it's a general roadmap of where the government's going to go in the next sitting of Parliament. So far as that's concerned, I think the throne speech was an excellent roadmap. It gave everybody a fairly concise idea of what's going to come in the next Parliament and what our government's intentions are in terms of delivering new legislation. So we outlined a number of priorities, and safe streets, our own sovereignty, dealing with the provinces, and I think we've been able to provide Canadians with a fairly clear agenda about what they would expect from a Harper government in this their second Parliament.
Any specifics about this throne speech? Any key areas you think that is good for this community? Yeah,
well, certainly the GST cut and tax fairness is going to be an issue, I think, across Canada and of course in Markham-Unionville, where we have a lot of middle-class people who are just going to the jobs and trying to raise their family. Another % cut in the GST is a good advantage to them. That combined with the percentage cut last year provides them with 2 percentage points better that they didn't have before. Similarly, I think that the Safe Streets initiative is going to be really key as well too. There's some concerns about the kind of problems we have in some parts of our community. No one's suggesting that it's as bad as Toronto or some other big cities, but at the same time we don't want it to get bad either. So we've brought in new measures with, first of all, with regards to minors and increasing the age of consent to 16, which makes them less of a target for people looking to exploit young people. There's anti-gang measures, tougher conditions for bail, and tougher sentencing conditions for people who commit crimes with handguns, and also there's provisions to be tougher with gangs and people who would come into our community and use us for their own selfish needs. We've also made steps on border security, and not just Arctic sovereignty, which of course is becoming more of an issue, but also what happens at the border between the states and here. I know law enforcement officials in York Region are concerned that some of what's happening in the States can come up here, and we see grow-up operations happening and guns that come up here. They affect us on the street level. So far as we make progress on that, I think the people of this area can feel comfortable that we're dealing with issues that are going to affect them directly.
What about the Canadian forces in overseas, like Afghanistan?
The Prime Minister has been pretty clear all along that if we are going to extend the mission, it will be done so through all members of Parliament, not just the Conservatives shoving something through. They set up a new panel in the last week that's headed by a very well-respected Liberal, John Manley, and the goal of that panel is to see where our place is going to be after 2009. So it may be in a combat role, it may be a training, it may have different focuses. But I think that everybody agrees that Canada has pulled its weight in Afghanistan, but there's still a place for us to be there. I think that we would not be doing our job as Canadians who respect people's rights and who are trying to provide good families or good places for our families to live. We're the kind of people that also want to encourage other countries to also have a good place to live as well too. So whatever we need to do, we'll do that, and the Prime Minister has kind of outlined a roadmap of how to get there.
Since your party takes control, become the governing party since last year, so about that more than 1.5 years, what kind of improvement you see that your government has done?
Well, certainly the law and order bill that we see coming out right now is a collection of bills that was introduced in the House of Commons before. That was hung up for quite a long time in the Liberal-dominated Senate. But we've put it together about 5 bills in one this time out. So we've made some real strides there. Certainly we've led the way on border security and Arctic sovereignty. I think there's this idea if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And there's certainly a lot of people who want to have access to our resources that are in Canadian waters, but we need to be vigilant and make sure we know who's going through our waters up in the north. With regards to things like immigration, we've also understand that Canada is an evolving country, and we want to make the process of coming here and working in the society a little more transparent. So for those people who want to come in through the legal channels, we want to make sure that we have the skilled people we need to do our job. So we put in $380 million for settlement funding in the last budget, $20 million of which is designated to assessing foreign credentials, because that's one of the things we hear problems with, is highly skilled immigrants who are coming here and not able to use their skills. And mostly it's bureaucracy. So we're trying to cut that down, and we've set up an agency that's designed to do that. So those were big things that certainly resonate in Markham Unionville, because we do have a community that's made of other communities.
So, and we know that recently the Canadian dollar goes very strong. It's a part of the U.S. So what's your personal comment about this one, and what if affects it like Canada economy?
Well, I'm not an economist, but I can see some of the real benefits to this. Obviously, everybody likes to go on vacation and likes to go cross-border shopping. So I understand that gives people a real advantage in some sectors. It's tougher for manufacturing sectors and exporters, but the government has also made good on a promise to try to help them a little bit. I think we'll see more of that in the future, but we've allowed people to write down capital expenditures very quickly, and that helps to make our manufacturers more competitive. Also, we've indicated that what we'd like to do is try to break down trade barriers between the provinces, and even harmonize taxes in some cases across the provinces. So while some of the markets in the U.S. are not as accessible due to the high dollar, I think that we have a great opportunity now to go and expand our markets in Europe, Asia, and across Canada. And the other upside to this as well too is much of the infrastructure or capital expenditures that the businesses up here need are got from the States. So now manufacturers, at least, and exporters have a chance to upgrade their capital infrastructure now at a much cheaper rate than they did before. So there's upsides. We just have to work with it to make sure that we can take advantage of the things like that. If all we're going to do is cry about the low dollar, I mean, we're going to get nowhere. But we have a chance to be really competitive here and make our lives even better.
And in your point, say what areas of the government, your party takes, steps to improve any situations or any issues like that? My question is that your party has been governing the country for 1.5 years. It seems doing pretty good. All right. So
we think so.
And then what areas needs to be improved or put focus on?
I think tax fairness is an issue, and certainly making sure that our mechanisms that are in place to prevent fraud are strengthened. I think there's been some concern in the international community that some of our controls are not as good as they should be. We'll be certainly focusing on that. Afghanistan is going to take a big part of our time, and the crime bill has been a focus of our attention in the past, and we continue to remain supportive of the everyday guy who's walking down the street and shouldn't have to worry about whether they're going to get mugged or whatever. And that's not going to be the focus. I don't think we're trying to scare anybody. We want to make sure that really the good people have a good time, and the people who are out to make our lives miserable through crime are not going to succeed.